So this is where the next thing is where I'm checking your understanding. Like we've already found a couple of people that are not quite sure, so I hope that cleared up a little bit, made links. What does U10 equals 37 tell me? Zoe? Yeah. What this means, everyone, to write it down, the 10th number in the sequence is 37. If we can verify that, remember the verify word from criterion B? We know that U10, no, sorry, UN was what again from before? 4n minus 3. So U10 would be 4 times 10 because n equals 10 minus 3. So U10 is equal to 40 minus 3, which is?
37.
37. So the 10th number would be 37. Now, could we use Riley and Javi's method to confirm that? We could. Why is it getting slightly even less efficient though? Because I'd have to write out 10 numbers, wouldn't I? But I could do that. I don't want you to, but let me do it then. What's the first number? 1. Then it was 5 and 9. Good. 9, 13. There's the 5th number again. 21, 25, 29, 33, 37. The first number, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. 10th number is 37. Alright? But all I wanted you to understand was U10 equals 37 means that 37 is the 10th number. Yeah? Alright.
Can you tell us how to do with division? Because in
With the functions thing, you've got to divide by.
yeah, because in the thing in our mark, I was just divide. Yeah. I know I didn't know how to explain when it's like 6 says the 3 and 9 to the divide.
Oh, I get you. Right, we could talk about that later. Right, we'll come back to that, but let's look at this next one then. We're now getting towards the solving equations bit. I'm trying to get you to understand what that's all about. So another sequence is described by UN equals 2n plus 8. Okay, what's this sequence going to go up by? 2's, yeah? What's the first term? 10. We're starting to get the habit now. First term is just those two numbers added together, isn't it? Yeah? Alright? And it goes up by 2 because it's based on the 2 times table. Alright? So, what does UN equals 28 tell you? That's just saying the same thing, but what does it tell me? More in English. Mia? No? Caleb? 28 is a number in the sequence. Which one?
I think I know.
Well, what I'm after is not can you work it out, does this tell you? No. Right? All this tells you is 28 is a number in the sequence. What does it not tell you?
Which number?
Which one it is. Okay? So we should write that down. It doesn't tell us which one it is. Okay? Because the n is not told. Alright? N is not told. We could work it out though, right? Yeah? Now that is basically what we're doing today. But before I get there, are there any values for un that will not, that un will never equal for this sequence? So what I mean by that is we know that un equals 2n plus 8, right? And we're saying that un equals 28 is a number in the sequence. Is there any number that it will never be? So could I just write un equals 15? Why not? Right? Okay, I kind of get your idea. It doesn't really give me a definite reason, like just showing working, and there's plenty of people in this room even that will give me a correct answer with no working. Yeah, I get it's a random number, but I could pick a random number that is in the sequence. I might get lucky. But are there numbers that will not appear in the sequence? Right? In this case, maybe. Kaylin, could you explain? Sure. Hey? What isn't? Why not? How do I know? Did we all hear that, Jace? Because you're chatting away. Did you hear what Kaylin just said? Is your name Jace? I'll ask you next. Did you hear what Kaylin said, Daisy?
He was talking.
You're right. He was talking, but so were you and the ghost. So can you pay attention? McKenna, you were going to offer something. Did you hear what Kaylin said? Amara?
It's basically, he said it's not a multiple.
Well, I'll link what you two said. Kaylin said, if I try and say, for instance, let's just pick 15. Does un equal, is that appropriate?
No.
Right? No, and Kaylin just said, well, because if you carry on, if you work out what the sequence is, 15 will never be in the sequence, will it? Alright? Now we could just start doing the sequence and prove that, but what Amaro said earlier, which I kind of went was almost there, is Amaro said, well, actually he knows that this sequence is only going to be even numbers because it starts at 10 and goes up in twos. You're never going to get an odd number. So no odd numbers. So that can't be the case. Alright? That will not be us. Okay? So the answer is, are there any values that un will never equal? Yes. All odd numbers, for instance, yeah? Anything less than 10, because the first number is 10, the second number is 12, 14, 16, 18. So basically, every even number from 10 onwards will be in the sequence, but never any odd numbers and never any numbers below 10. Okay. I think that's it. Back to this question then. Any ideas of how to figure out which number in the sequence it is?
I mean, so I thought we started at 10. I just went up by 2 until it gets 20.
Yeah, well, that is one method. We could do what we were just doing here, yeah? And go up until we get to 28. We'd get there, right? Might take us a while. So we're going to develop a better method. Jack? Not quite.
What number in the sequence it is?
Well, I want a method though. Did you just count up? No, how'd you do it?
I times 10 by
Why did you start with 10? I think you worked it out before you then, I'm not going to say no, but it's not, we need a method that is applicable for everything, okay? Zoe? Well, I think he realised that 2 times 10 gives you the 20. And that's kind of the thing. I'm going to ask you to write something out before. I'm going to ask you to write something out before I ask. I'm going to ask you to write an equation, and I want you to tell me why. So un is equal to 2n plus 8. Un is equal to 28. So logically, I can write the following thing. 2n plus 8 equals 28. This is an equation. We can solve for n is the way to say it. Okay? And that's what we're going to be looking at doing. So we don't have to keep counting up. Now I think basically what Jack did was he looked at it, and it's quite an obvious one. He went, well, something plus 8 is 28, so that must be 20. And that's actually what we do. We just have to put it in writing in a clear way. Yeah.
Like minus 8, I would add 8, inverse it,
Yeah.
and then do, and then I'll get 20, and then I'll just divide.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what Kayla did, thinking in our function machine stuff. Right, but before we do that, you have another sheet in front of you. All right, just to give you the same sort of ideas. All right, so I can kind of shut up and stop talking for a little bit. Don't say yeah too loudly. All right. So basically, what you have here are examples of equations, but instead of an n, you have a star. So all you're going to do is figure out what the star is. Then, and when you're doing it, I want you to think, how are you doing it? Go for it. 4 plus, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. I'm going to, instead of a star, if people have instead of a star, could you write X in? Just so we get used to seeing it. Can we do that now, guys?
In every single one.
Yeah, in all the stars, can you write X's?
Okay.
So we end up with X equals, so instead of having a star, we're going to do X.
So,
What you looking at?
And so if you're still working out answers, you can just answer or do it. Okay. So remember, this is an introductory exercise, and therefore it's supposed to be an easier exercise to help guide your thinking so that you can apply your skills to a much more difficult situation. Okay? So bear with me if I try and slow things down a little bit and ask you, how do we actually do the calculation rather than we just do this, right? 4 plus something equals 11. Therefore, the something is. How do I work it out though? Zoe? That's not a mathematical way. Milena? Okay, could do it that way, but we've got a better way. Okay, that's the important thing. And it's basically what you've all done, but you interpret it in a different way. 4 plus something could also be written as something plus 4. So what we do, if something plus 4 makes 11, if we subtract the 4 off it, it gets rid of that, but the answer is also 4 less than it was. So we have 11 minus 4 is 7. Okay. Can you all write that down? You've just written an answer, got something. That is our method from now on. This one's going to be a bit simpler because 25 minus 4 is just 21. Okay. 5 times x equals 20. How do I work out what x is, Nasa?
If you clear, I just really know the 5 times.
Okay, so knowing the 5 times table means you also know how to do what? Yeah, but what's the mathematical operation of that you're doing? Leah? We're dividing by 5, aren't we? If it's 5 times x, if we divide by 5, that undoes, it's the inverse of timesing by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4.
It's 5x.
5. My x is curly though. That's why I do a curly x, so it doesn't look like a times symbol.
5 times.
Something minus 4 equals 9. So McKenna, what do we have to do? We do the opposite of what was done, so we add the 4 back on. The answer is 9 plus 4, so it's 13. So like I said, the important thing here is not the answers are all easy. You did that. You went bang, 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 I'm done in 30 seconds. What's important is the understanding of this, what's called the inverse operations. That's super important. Because that's the skill we're going to use for when it gets harder. So let's see whether we can pick it up. 5 plus something equals, well, let's do this first. What's 14 minus 6? 8. So let's change that to 8. 5 plus. So what do we do? What's the inverse operation? We have to subtract 5 from both sides and we get 3. 6 times 2, let's sort it out, is 12. Daisy? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. What's the inverse of 3 times x? What do we have to do? No? No?
Divide.
Divide. 3 times x, so if we divide by 3 on both sides, 12 divided by 3 is 4. 5 plus 4 is 9, so x equals, so 3 times x equals 7. Alright, important, x minus 6 is 14, so we have to work out, John, that we have to plus the 6 back on, that tells me x equals 20, therefore 4 times 20 equals 8. Okay?
Found out for like the ones for like the Korean 14 and 6, I figured out.
So what we're saying with this one, guys, is Q goes into a number machine. What do we do to it? Plus 4. What comes out? 19. So we have to do 19, do the minus 4, And we get 15, therefore Q. Now, just so you can write this down, this is a bit like beginner communication. So what we're going to end up with is we're going to say if Q plus 4 equals 19, then if we subtract the 4 from both sides, we get left with Q equals 15. So that says the same thing, but in an easy way. Jace? Yes. So in your homework, basically, what we solving means find what the input was to give this output. All right?
Oh yeah, now go out.
Right. So, all I did with this, I remember my notes from last time, okay, is showing you a visual method. Okay? So this is using something called algebra tile, where what we do is we have a tile that represents the unknown value, the Q. We don't know what that represents, but the plus 4 is represented by 4 single ones there. Justin, is that a good thing for you to be? Is that what you should be concentrating on? No. On the other side of the equals, it's got 19 ones. So basically, I know that this side and this side are equal. They're the same thing. So what can we do? Well, what did we do? We subtracted 4, right? So imagine that I do that on here. What I do is to subtract 4, what would I do on this diagram? I would just cross out 4 ones, and I'm left with just the Q, right? But what must I do on the other side to keep it equal? Subtract 4. So I would cross out 4 on that side as well, and I'm left with the minus 4 leaves me with 15. So that was a visual method for doing it. Hopefully you're all paying attention to this, even if you are, that's too easy. I'm not doing that. Because when I give you a question like this to explain in your test, and you thought this was too easy for you, you'll be like, oops. Oops, I don't even remember doing this before. Okay. Now, just to finish us up, two x plus, well, actually, now I'm going to change that. I'm going to say it's 3x plus 5 equals 18. Now, I've given you one of those to stop those people that are just trying to figure out what it is before they show any of their working. So I would like you to show your working for this. It will be a decimal. That's why I said use a calculator. I want to show your working. You may not have enough time now.